I was sitting in my car in a parking lot, staring at my phone like it had just slapped me across the face. Megan had deleted every single picture of us from her Instagram. 2 years together, and I had been erased like I never existed. The funny thing was, I had just paid off her credit card bill that morning. $12,000. Gone. Just like our photos. Just like my dignity. How did I end up here paying for a life I was no longer allowed to be part of? Before I take you back to where this all started, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were just an accessory in someone else's life? Like your only purpose was to make their world more comfortable while they pretended you did not exist? Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from today. If this story resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let me take you back to where this all started. 2 years ago, I walked into a coffee shop in downtown Austin. It was one of those places with exposed brick walls and the smell of freshly roasted beans hanging in the air. The afternoon sun was streaming through the large windows, casting long golden shadows across the wooden tables. I had my laptop open deep into a coding project that had been giving me trouble for days. I was a software engineer, the kind of guy who found comfort in logic and predictable outcomes. Little did I know, my life was about to become anything but predictable. That was when she walked in. Megan. She moved through the room like she owned it all, confidence and energy. Her hair caught the sunlight, and I swear half the people in the shop looked up from their screens. She ordered something complicated with oat milk and extra shots, then scanned the room for a seat. The only available spot was at the table next to mine. She sat down, pulled out her phone, and started scrolling. I tried to focus on my code, but I kept glancing over. After a few minutes, she caught me looking and smiled. "That looks intense," she said, nodding at my screen. "What are you working on?" I explained my project, expecting her eyes to glaze over, like most people when I talked about work. But she leaned in, asked questions, seemed genuinely interested. She told me she was a content creator building her personal brand on social media. I found that fascinating. We were from completely different worlds, yet somehow the conversation flowed easily. By the time the coffee shop started closing, we had exchanged numbers. I walked to my car that evening feeling like the luckiest guy in Austin. A beautiful, vibrant woman had actually been interested in talking to me. Looking back now, I realize I should have noticed the warning signs. She asked a lot about my job, my apartment, my lifestyle. But I was too busy feeling flattered to pay attention. The first 3 months were everything I had ever wanted in a relationship. Megan was attentive, always texting me throughout the day, asking about my projects, remembering small details I had mentioned. We explored Austin together, trying new restaurants, hiking trails, live music venues. She made everything feel like an adventure. I introduced her to my family during a Sunday dinner at my parents' house. My mother loved her immediately. Megan was charming, helped with the dishes, complimented my mother's cooking. My younger sister pulled me aside afterward and said she seemed perfect. I believed it too. One evening, we were cooking dinner together at my apartment. Megan insisted on making her famous pasta, though I ended up doing most of the actual cooking while she arranged ingredients for photos. She took pictures of the food, then pictures of us together, posting everything to her Instagram with captions full of heart emojis and words like "blessed" and "found my person." I appeared on her feed for the first time that night. Her followers left hundreds of comments. I felt proud, like I had been officially welcomed into her world. What I did not realize was that her world came with a price tag, and I was about to start paying it. It started in our 4th month together. We were at a cafe when Megan mentioned that her camera had stopped working. She was a content creator, she explained, and without a proper camera, she could not do her job. She had been waiting on payment from a brand deal, but it was delayed. She looked at me with those big eyes, and I could see the stress weighing on her. "I could lend you the money," I offered. "Just until your payment comes through." She shook her head at first. "No, I could not ask you to do that. It is too much." But I insisted. I wanted to help the woman I loved. So I transferred $2,300 for a new Sony mirrorless camera. She hugged me tight and told me I was the best boyfriend she had ever had. She promised to pay me back within 2 months as soon as her brand deal money came in. 2 months passed. Then 3. She never mentioned the money, and I felt awkward bringing it up. When I finally did, she frowned and said the brand deal had fallen through. She was waiting on another one. Could I give her a little more time? Of course I said yes. I did not want to seem petty or controlling. I told myself that couples go through financial rough patches. It was normal. I was being a good partner. But a small seed of doubt had been planted, and it would only grow from there. The requests did not stop with the camera. They evolved, multiplied, became a regular part of our relationship. In our 6th month together, Megan needed money to rent a studio space for a professional photo shoot. She had a big collaboration coming up, she said, and first impressions mattered in her industry. I transferred $800 without much hesitation. 2 months later, she wanted to fly to California to meet up with other influencers for a collaboration opportunity. The trip would be an investment in her career, she explained. The networking alone would be worth it. I paid for her flights, her hotel, her spending money. Another $1,500 gone. By our 10th month together, her laptop was apparently too slow to edit videos efficiently. She needed a new MacBook Pro. Her old one was holding back her career, she said, making her look unprofessional. The way she described it, this purchase was practically an emergency. I found myself pulling out my credit card once again. $2,200 this time. I started keeping a mental tally. Then an actual spreadsheet. The numbers were adding up in ways that made my stomach turn. $15,000. Then 18. Then 20. All of it supposedly temporary loans, all of it supposedly going to be repaid once her career took off. Meanwhile, my own life was shrinking. I stopped going out with my friends because I was trying to save money. I canceled my plan to buy a new car because my savings had been redirected to Megan's needs. I ate lunch at my desk instead of going out with coworkers. Every dollar I saved was another dollar available for her next emergency. I tried to talk to her about it once. We were at my apartment, and I had rehearsed what I wanted to say. I brought up the total amount I had lent her, mentioned that I was starting to feel the financial strain, asked if we could come up with a repayment plan. Megan's face crumpled, her eyes filled with tears. She said she felt like a burden, like I was keeping score, like our relationship had become transactional. She asked if I even loved her, or if I just saw her as a debt to be collected. I backpedaled immediately. I apologized, told her I did not mean it that way, said I was just stressed from work. She softened, let me hold her, and we moved on. But I noticed she did not offer to pay anything back. And somehow, by the end of that conversation, I had agreed to add her as an authorized user on my credit card. For emergencies, she said, just in case. Looking back, I can see how masterfully she manipulated that moment. She turned my reasonable concern into evidence of my failure as a partner, and I fell for it completely. Around this time, I started noticing changes on her social media. In the early months of our relationship, I had been a regular presence on her Instagram. Couple photos, date night posts, little captions about how happy she was. But gradually, those posts became less frequent. Her feed shifted to solo shots, professional photos, images of her at fancy restaurants and exclusive events. Places I had never been with her. One evening, I was scrolling through her page and saw a picture of her at a rooftop bar I did not recognize. The Austin skyline glittered behind her, and she looked stunning in a dress I had never seen before. In the corner of the frame, partially cropped out, was a man's arm. Where was this? I asked her later, keeping my voice casual. Oh, that was a brand event, she said, without looking up from her phone. Influencers only. You would have been bored. Who's the guy in the picture? She glanced at me with a flicker of annoyance. That is just the photographer. He was adjusting the lighting or something. Why are you being weird about it? I dropped it, but the question lingered in my mind. I was paying for her lifestyle, yet I was being excluded from it. Her public image was becoming increasingly glamorous while I remained invisible. I was the silent investor in a company that refused to put my name on the building. The worst part was the cognitive dissonance. In private, Megan was still affectionate, still told me she loved me, still made me feel like we had something real. But in public on the platform that mattered most to her, I was slowly being erased. It was like dating two different people, and I could not figure out which one was real. I confronted her about it one more time. It was a Tuesday night, and she had just come back from some event still wearing a designer dress that I was pretty sure I had paid for. I asked her why I never appeared on her Instagram anymore, why she seemed to be building a life online that did not include me. She sighed heavily, like I was being exhausting. Randolph, you do not understand how this industry works. My audience wants to see a certain image. Couple content does not perform as well as solo content. It is not personal. It is just business. But I am your boyfriend, I said. Does not that matter? She walked over and put her hands on my shoulders. Of course it matters. You matter more than any of those followers. But they do not need to know everything about my private life. Can you understand that? I nodded, even though I did not really understand. She kissed me, and the conversation ended. But something had shifted inside me. For the first time, I was starting to see the pattern clearly. I was good enough to fund her life, but not good enough to be part of it publicly. I was her secret sponsor, and she was spending my money while pretending I did not exist. That night, I lay awake for hours staring at the ceiling. I knew something was wrong. I just could not bring myself to admit what it was. The truth found me in a bar on a random Thursday night. I had gone out for drinks with some coworkers, trying to remember what it felt like to have a social life. We were at a place downtown somewhere I used to go regularly before Megan consumed all my time and money. That was where I ran into Derek. Derek was a mutual friend, someone I had met through Megan at a party early in our relationship. We were not close, but we were friendly enough to chat when we saw each other. He walked over with a beer in his hand and a look on his face that I could not quite read. "Randolph, man, how are you?" he asked, settling onto the bar stool next to me. "I am good," I said. "Just grabbing drinks with some work people. How about you?" "Same old, same old." He took a sip of his beer, then looked at me with something like hesitation. "So, how are things with you and Megan? I saw her stories from Cabo last week. Looked like a crazy trip." I felt my stomach drop. Cabo? Derek's face changed. He realized he had said something he should not have. "Yeah, Cabo San Lucas. She went with a group of people last weekend. You did not go—" "I did not know about it," I said slowly. The silence between us was heavy. Derek shifted uncomfortably on his stool. "Listen, man," he said quietly. "I probably should not say anything, but I know some of the people she was with. There is this guy, Marcus, who has been trying to get with her for months, and he was definitely on that trip." My coworkers called me back to our table, and I excused myself from Derek with a nod. But I could not focus on the conversation anymore. Cabo. Marcus. A trip I knew nothing about, funded by money that probably came from my credit card. When I got home that night, I opened Instagram and went to Megan's profile. I scrolled through her recent stories, but there was nothing about Cabo. Then I remembered that Instagram lets you limit who sees certain stories. I was probably on the restricted list. I searched for Marcus and found him easily enough. His profile was public, full of flashy posts about his lifestyle brand or whatever it was he did. And there, scattered among his recent photos, were images from a beach that looked a lot like Cabo. In several of them, I could see Megan in the background. In one, they were standing close together, his arm around her shoulders. I sat on my couch until 3 a.m, scrolling through both their profiles, piecing together the evidence. The timeline matched up perfectly. While I was at home thinking she was busy with work, she was on a beach vacation with another man, a vacation I had unknowingly paid for. I did not sleep that night, but I also did not call her. Not yet. I needed to think. I needed to decide what to do. 1 week later, my sister sent me a text message that changed everything. "Hey, did you and Megan break up?" I stared at the message, confused. "No, why?" "I was looking at her Instagram and noticed she deleted all the pictures with you, every single one. I thought maybe something happened." My hands were shaking as I opened Megan's profile. I scrolled from top to bottom, examining every post. My sister was right. 2 years of memories, hundreds of moments we had shared, all of it had been erased. Her feed was now a curated collection of solo shots, professional photos, and lifestyle content. I appeared nowhere. It was as if I had never been part of her life at all. I sat with my phone in my hands, feeling a numbness spread through my chest. It was not even anger. It was something deeper, something colder. She had deleted me from her public existence while still expecting me to fund her private one. I was invisible, irrelevant, and yet my credit card was still in her wallet. I pulled up my credit card statement. The current balance was $12,400. I looked at the itemized charges: designer clothing, spa treatments, expensive dinners. And there, buried among the transactions, were charges from Cabo San Lucas. Hotels, restaurants, activities. She had used my card to pay for her trip with Marcus. Something inside me finally broke. Not in a dramatic, explosive way. It was more like a dam that had been holding back water for too long. The pressure released, and suddenly everything became clear. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I called my bank that evening. I was calm, methodical, almost businesslike. I explained that I needed to remove an authorized user from my credit card. The representative asked if I was sure. I said yes. She asked for the name. I gave it. "Megan has been removed from your account," she confirmed. "Is there anything else I can help you with?" "Yes," I said. "I would like to change my PIN numbers and passwords on all linked accounts." After I hung up, I transferred the remaining balance from our joint savings account into my personal account. Then I sat back on my couch and waited. 2 days later, it happened. My phone rang on a Saturday afternoon. Megan's name lit up the screen. I answered. "Randolph." Her voice was almost a scream. "My card just declined at Nordstrom in front of everyone. What is going on?" I could hear the embarrassment and fury battling in her voice. For a moment I felt a flicker of something. Guilt, maybe. The old instinct to fix things, to smooth everything over. But then I remembered the deleted photos. The secret trip. The man with his arm around her shoulders. "Oh," I said calmly. "I made some changes to my financial situation." "What do you mean, changes?" she demanded. "You cannot just do that without telling me. We need to talk about this." "Actually?" I said, "I figured since you deleted me from your Instagram for your aesthetic, I should delete you from my bank account, for my financial aesthetic." Silence. For several long seconds she said nothing. Then her voice shifted, became smaller, almost pleading. "Randolph, come on. We are a couple. You cannot just cut me off like this. I can explain everything. The photos, the trip, all of it. Let me come over and we can talk." "Were we a couple, though?" I asked. "Because your Instagram says otherwise. I do not seem to exist anywhere in your life, Megan. Except when the bill comes." She started crying then. The same tears that had worked so many times before. But this time, I felt nothing. "I know about Cabo," I said quietly. "I know about Marcus, and I know that I paid for all of it. The trip, the dinners, the outfits, all while you were busy pretending I did not exist." She tried to speak, but I cut her off. "I wish you well, Megan. I really do. But I am done being your invisible sponsor. I am done paying for a life I am not allowed to be part of. Find someone else to fund your lifestyle. It is not going to be me anymore." I ended the call. Then I blocked her number, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt like I could breathe. The first few weeks after the breakup were harder than I expected. I thought I would feel triumphant, maybe even vindicated. Instead, I felt hollow. 2 years is a long time to spend with someone, even if that someone was using you. The apartment felt too quiet. I kept reaching for my phone to text her before remembering there was no one to text. Some nights I would lie in bed and replay our good moments. The early days when she seemed so genuinely interested in me. The dinners, the trips, the lazy Sunday mornings. Part of me still wanted to believe those moments were real, even though I knew they were not. Or maybe they were real for me and just performances for her. I could not decide which possibility hurt more. My friends were supportive in their own ways. They did not say "I told you so," even though some of them probably wanted to. My mother called every few days just to check in. She never liked Megan, she finally admitted. Something about her had always seemed off, but she had not wanted to interfere. I let myself grieve. I did not try to pretend I was fine or rush through the healing process. I was sad, and I let myself be sad. But slowly, things started to shift. The first change was physical. I started going to the gym again, something I had abandoned because Megan complained it took time away from her. I remembered how much I loved lifting weights, the simple satisfaction of pushing my body and watching it respond. Within a few weeks, I felt stronger, not just physically, but mentally too. Then I reconnected with my old friend group. The guys I used to hang out with before Megan had slowly absorbed all my free time. They welcomed me back without judgment, and suddenly I had people to watch football with. On Sundays, people to grab beers with. After work, people who actually cared about how I was doing. Around the 1-month mark, I looked at my bank account and was genuinely surprised. Without the constant drain of Megan's lifestyle, my savings were growing rapidly. I made a decision that felt symbolic. I went to a dealership and put a deposit on the car I had been wanting for years. The one I had put off buying because Megan always had another emergency. When I drove it off the lot, I felt like I was reclaiming something that had been stolen from me. 2 months after the breakup, a coworker named Jamie invited me on a weekend hiking trip. I almost said no. Social activities still felt strange. But something told me to say yes, so I did. The group met at a trailhead outside the city. There were 8 of us, mostly people from Jamie's extended friend circle. One of them was a woman named Sophie. She was a veterinarian, quiet and thoughtful, with an easy laugh and no apparent interest in documenting every moment for social media. We ended up hiking together for most of the trail. The conversation was effortless. She asked about my work and actually listened to my answers. She shared stories about her animal patients without any hint of performance or trying to impress me. When we reached the summit, she just stood there, quietly taking in the view instead of pulling out her phone for photos. Nothing romantic happened that day. We were just 2 people enjoying a hike and getting to know each other. But as I drove home that evening, I realized something important. That was what it felt like to be seen. Not as a wallet, not as a source of funding, but as an actual person. I had forgotten that feeling existed. Sophie and I exchanged numbers and started texting occasionally. She asked about my weekend plans, remembered things I had mentioned days earlier, never once brought up Instagram or followers or brand deals. It was like breathing fresh air after years in a room with no windows. The months continued to pass. I threw myself into a side project I had been postponing forever, an app I had always wanted to build. Without Megan's constant demands on my time and money, I had space to create again. The app started as a hobby, but it grew into something I was genuinely proud of. One day, I heard through the grapevine that Megan was dating Marcus now. I saw a picture of them together on someone else's story. She was draped over him at some exclusive party, looking exactly like she had looked in our early days. I waited for the jealousy to hit me, the anger, the bitterness. But there was nothing. Just a mild curiosity about how long until she found his replacement, too. I realized I had forgiven her, not because she deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting her to suffer. I simply let it go. The final piece of my healing came on an ordinary Tuesday morning. I was sitting at the same coffee shop where I had first met Megan, laptop open, working on my app. The sun was streaming through the same large windows. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Everything was the same, and yet I was completely different. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. She was asking about a hiking trail I had mentioned, wondering if I wanted to explore it together that weekend. I smiled as I typed my reply. The truth is, my worth was never measured by what I could provide for someone else. It was measured by how I was treated in return. Real love does not ask you to disappear so someone else can shine. Real partnership does not keep score, but it also does not tolerate being taken for granted. Sometimes you have to lose someone to find yourself again. And sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is being deleted from someone else's story. Because that is when you finally get to start writing your own. Before I go, I want to ask you something. Have you ever found yourself giving more than you were getting in a relationship? Have you ever felt invisible to someone who was supposed to love you? I would love to hear your stories in the comments. Let me know what you think, and if this story touched you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you so much for being here and listening to my story. I wish you the strength to recognize your own worth and the courage to walk away from anyone who does not see it. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.